What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Long Game Podcast hosted by Thomas Kopelman and Trayton DeVore. In each episode, you'll hear us break down financial topics that are relevant to the lives of millennials and other young professionals. Our goal is to help bring credible financial information to you in short, bite-sized episodes.
Thomas Kopelman and Trayton DeVore are the co-founders and financial planners at All Street Wealth. All opinions expressed by Thomas and Trayton are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of All Street Wealth. This podcast is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It should not be considered advice. Please consult with your financial advisor, tax, legal, and any other advisors you have before making any decisions regarding your financial plan.
All right. What's up? And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Long Game Podcast. Today, obviously, you're seeing, because it's launching on a Monday, is very different. So obviously, every Friday, we have a podcast more so about financial education. But one thing that I've always wanted to do is build in public and kind of share what we're doing. And today is kind of a really exciting announcement. If you guys are looking, obviously, Ryan Dolan over here is sitting down with me. And today is his first day officially joining us. So I'm going to let Ryan introduce himself, and then I'll walk through kind of our story together, as well as really what this hire is about and what our plans for All Street is. So Dolan, thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Tom. This has been a long while in the making. It's amazing that it's finally here.
Yeah.
Worked a long time as a staff accountant at a small business firm. Did my background at Butler in accounting. Prepared a lot of tax returns, did a lot of tax planning, did basic accounting. You know, what all of that entails is probably too boring for this setting, but
yeah, but you typically you mostly were working with business owners, right? Like, I think you said like 10 to 100 million revenue businesses. Mostly in the tax filing and tax planning side.
Exactly right. A lot of small business, and it was good for the time, but I'm really excited for this new opportunity to join you, and you built out something awesome here, and I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to grow this with you. So
yeah, I bet a lot of people hear this and they hear Butler and think that's like kind of where we met, but our story goes back a lot farther than that. I think I got a lot of advice from people as I built this business that say, like, you know, don't ever hire family or friends. And I think that comes from people who have never done that successfully. I have this belief that I would much rather build businesses with the people that I love than work with random people that I don't have the relationship with, because I think anytime when you hire somebody, there's an interesting dynamic. And for me as a manager, I'm not much of a manager. Like, I like working with people and like, hey, here's the role, here's how I do it, like, go be better than me at this. And you know, I've been telling people this for a long time, but the way that I view business and what I'm doing is like, where am I exceptional? Like, what am I an A+ at? And for me, the things that I know I'm really good at and where I can actually stand out in the industry is around marketing, around driving clients to our business, around converting clients, and then just really like talking with them and engaging with them. Like, that's where I feel like I'm really, really, really good at. The rest of it, I feel like I'm good. Like, I feel like I'm a good financial planner, but I feel like it's not like I go and I start working on a spreadsheet and I walk away like energized about it. But I know that there are a lot of people who are like that, who are analytical, who like researching, who like, you know, crafting that plan. And so for me, I knew this was the way that I was going. So I'm sure a lot of people that follow know I have a CFP on staff. He's been working with me for well over a year now and kind of taking a lot of that off the plate. But we've grown a lot. So, I mean, when I launched All Street, I brought over, 25 clients. They were not necessarily the right fit for who we work with now. I have about 65 households, and we also work with a lot of clients just creating financial plans. And so there is a lot of financial planning work to be done when we're bringing on 3 to 4 households every single month. And I needed help doing it. And so you and I have been kind of like talking through random, like, we weren't sharing obviously like the real client cases, but I'd call you and ask you a tax planning question, or ask like, hey, I was reviewing a tax return, like, I don't understand this, help me on it. So I think for a really long time, we practiced this dynamic. to see if it was going to work well. But I think the advantage that we have is you starting day one, we already have like a really good working relationship, not only because you came and stayed with me for a week to be brought up to speed, which, you know, I would recommend anybody doing that in a virtual working relationship, because now officially you're day one, you're already in Holista Plan doing tax planning and tax, you know, reviews for our clients, and already creating spreadsheets and doing a lot of the work that, you know, would have taken way longer to bring you up to speed on. But I also just think because we've been friends for so long, we understand what we're both good at, and we're kind of good at opposite things, which was my goal in hiring, right? Like I hired an assistant who's really good at organization and follow up and things that like, that's not as much how my brain works. And I brought you on because you're very analytical. You love research. Like you're more of a perfectionist. Like I'm the opposite. Like I'm more high level. I'm more strategy. I'm not a perfectionist. And so I think we're going to complement each other really well. From like, I'm kind of getting everything out of the clients. You're then creating all of the recommendations, doing the planning, tracking the cash flow, and you know what their tax, all that stuff should be. And then you put it into the plan, and then I'm going to go and like have the conversation around the plan, and you're still going to be obviously a part of it. So all of our clients are going to have a relationship with you. But I think that's just like us working in the two lanes that we're best in, because a lot of advisors just do the, hey, you know, I have 100 clients. That's all I can serve with me. I believe if I have a really good team around me, we can serve more clients, and all of us can be in that lane where we're exceptional at.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you said it best. I mean, that's always been kind of my forte. You know, being at a smaller firm, you know, it's difficult to commit to a strict hierarchy where, you know, here's my senior accountant. I'm going to be doing all of these menial tasks, and you know, it's a direct report. Obviously, there's quality controls to all of this, sure, at my prior job, but a lot of it was, you know, self-driven. Put me at my desk, and I'll go find the answer. I'll put in the time and you know, come up with a solid deliverable. It's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be similar here, where, you know, everything is quality controlled. Everything is going to be reviewed, especially as we get going, to get me up to full speed on what you've got going on. But yeah, I'm very much give me a set of tasks, and I don't need every single detail to be handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's what I always want in hires too, is like, hey, go figure this out. Here's what it is, improve it, make it better. Like, don't just be me. I think there's a lot of learning that I can bring, but then there's also like, you know, when I hired Drew, my thought was, okay, like, is there more I can learn about financial planning from somebody who's farther along? And what ended up being is he educated me on things. I educated him on new things that my clients were facing, that his clients weren't facing. And like, we both made each other better, which is obviously, you know, the goal of what we're going to try to do here. And I think over this last, you know, 2 years ago, this was not really my goal, was to like bring on a bunch of people. And then I realized like, hey, you know, I'm not working with simple client situations. Like most of who we're starting to work with are 500,000 to 2 million in income a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of the last 5 clients, most of them are in their 30s to 40s, and they're like 3 to 15 million net worth in that age. If for the non-business owner equities, we have some people who are, you know, 40 to 100 million in that range as well. And so what that requires is a lot of time and planning. Like,
yeah,
you know, I posted a financial plan on LinkedIn today, and like we look at cash, and then we look at debt, and then we look at investments, and then we look at like investing for retirement, then we look at college, and we look at insurances on all of them. Insurances are a lot when your clients have 5 rentals, a business, their primary home, their multiple cars. Like there's obviously a lot to be done there. And then we have business planning, tax planning, you know, equity comp planning. Like there's just a lot going on. And the number one value add for these clients is tax planning. And none of them come in having ever gotten any real tax planning from their CPAs, right? I think, you know, we can blame CPAs all we want, but it's really not the CPA's fault. It's, hey, I went and paid a CPA $750 for tax filing. Like they're not being paid to do the tax planning. And so what I was thinking is, clients or the people we're bringing on want to pay us for tax planning. So why wouldn't I bring tax in house? And I think when people hear that, they think that we're going to file taxes.
yeah,
And that's just not the route that we're going, because what ends up happening, I know a lot of other planners do this, is then I lose you for 6 months of the year to tax filing. When
Yeah.
in reality, the better area for us to be investing time in is around financial planning and tax planning. It's like, a higher revenue area. And we have a client with a C Corp, and then we have an S Corp, and then we have partnerships, and then we have equity comp, and then we have crypto. And like, I really don't necessarily believe one CPA would probably want to specialize in all of that. It would probably limit a lot of what we can do. And as we get to 100 some clients, that is a lot of tax returns for people with, we were just going through a client case today, is like 10K ones, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that is just not where we're really going to be focused, but we want to be the best tax planning in house. And what we're going to try to figure out is like, how do we actually give tax advice in house without filing? Because you can, like, you've been doing tax filing, but your EA will be finished here pretty shortly,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you'll have the letters to be able to do it. So we don't have to say like, consider this with QBI or consider,
Yeah.
all of that. That's something that we're going to figure out over time. But like, you come in, you're already better than me at the tax planning. You're already better at me that using the software, that like, even as you learn the financial planning day one, you're making this situation better for clients. Like I'm just thinking about December, like all of the end of year tax planning, how much can they put into their solo or SEP on the profit sharing side? Like, do they need to pay a large salary amount to maximize QBI? Tons of things that can be done at the end of the year that I can offload to you so I can work on other parts of the business versus those hours that go into that.
Right. And I think the other thing that we've kind of discussed is making you kind of talked about it there for a second, where it's not the CPA's fault that they have to know that they have that engagement, right? And it's a very valuable service, but it's also very time consuming, which you also just talked about.
You also miss out too, right? Like if a client goes to file and they're giving their papers in February, half the tax planning that they could do ended in December 31st. And so like
Almost all of it, really. I mean,
that's why a lot of us, we're going to quarterback it. So there's something I do, which is you're actually going to end up doing as we build those relationships, is calling the CPA, relaying what we're going to do. Like I sat down with I sat down with the client and their CPA like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, hey, we need to raise their salary about 4.5x what it is to maximize QBI. Like right now, they're going to get a $50,000 deduction. We raise their salary, we could end up getting it to be like 275, and that would end up being the best planning. And they're like kind of caught off guard. They were a little, guard was kind of up, like, oh yeah, we would have done that. We just don't really have their information. I'm like, I get that. Like the clients are not used to sharing the information to you throughout the year. They're just used to getting it filed at the end of the year. We'll help quarterback that to lead to the best results, because we do meet with our clients, 3 to 4 times a year scheduled, plus all of the other touch points.
Yeah, I think that as the relationships build as well, year over year, the CPA or EA, whoever's doing the filing for our clients, having that trust, having a comfortable relationship that, hey, I mean, the complexity of the clients is obvious, and it's really easy to miss things. I mean, the business of these clients is their business most of the time. They have so much going on. They have, I don't care how many letters the 1099s or K1s they get. It's easy to miss things. And just having an intermediary like us that can streamline that process in communication with the CPA or their EA, that's a huge value add to make sure things, because we see the totality of the financial picture, right? So that we know what they should expect to file with. So if something is glaringly obviously missing, or even to just smooth the process over with a letter at the beginning of the filing season, I think that's a tremendous value add. So
yeah, and I think like your role is what I'm obviously really excited about, is like from day one, clients, get us their information. It's going into Holista plan, and we're doing the tax analysis. Like, was there even errors from last year? Like I was just reviewing for a client, found they didn't even put down their HSA contribution, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's a big difference. That's a few thousand, but there's way more complex things for us to review. Mm-hmm. So you'll be doing tax planning. You're doing like almost all the analysis. You're going to be learning for Drew for a while on a lot of the financial planning. Sure. And then it's, every year we're getting everybody's tax return, we're reviewing it, doing tax planning for the year, make sure they know their quarterly estimates, make sure they know what needs to be paid, the moves that we can make to reduce lifetime taxes, and then really just all of the other parts of it. You'll be coordinating with their CPA. You're going to be doing end of year tax planning meetings. You'll be doing the regular tax planning meetings with them throughout the year. And, that's obviously, I mean, what I'm super excited. I've been saying this for a while is like right now I think about, I have about 15 to 20 hours a week of client meetings, which is obviously a lot. So that means I probably have 10 hours a week of planning. So like 40 hours a month, at a minimum, maybe it's 50, and Drew does 20. So we're going from 70 hours a month of financial planning to adding you who can do minus your meetings, maybe 100 to 120. So we like 2 to 3x the amount of time
Right.
to plan for clients. And we didn't 2 to 3x the amount of clients that we're working with. So like our depth of planning, and I feel like that's something we're already known for, is how deep our planning is just going to go through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity where it seems like we're kind of at that threshold where something like this makes a lot of sense in terms of taking it to that next level.
Yeah, it's funny. It came perfectly because at the beginning of this year, I was like, hey man, like I actually don't know if this timeline is going to work. And I look back and I had this Kitsis article that came out of like how I grew my firm to 15,000 a month of revenue in like 16 months, which means this was like February, March this year. And either in November or December this year, I'll have a little over 40K in that month. So like that's almost, 2.5x revenue over 10 months period of time. Like we're just in this hyper growth phase.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big reasons why I hired here too is that like a lot of advisors get here and then they get so busy in what they're doing that they stop the marketing that grew them. And I didn't want to have to be like, have that lag where like, now I don't use Twitter. Now I don't use other places. Now like it's not my great funnel and I have to figure out how to get it back up. Like I want to keep driving that. And so hiring right at the right times was super important, that I can always keep that attention to growing the business, which is, that and client service are the two most important things that we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's an awesome time to be at All Street Wealth. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess let's wrap it up with kind of just like I guess like the story of so I think, we knew each other since probably like maybe like 10 years old, if not.
Yeah.
Maybe not before that. We went to the same grade school and we were not really friends at all until like middle of my high school. And then we ended up becoming like absolute best friends. Like, our whole friend group was intertwined. We literally either hung out at your house or my house. We'll say 75% yours, 25% mine, like
Sure.
every day. Like our friend group was like, nobody ever spent time alone like that. You were the person who kind of liked alone time, and we would just show up at your house and be like, too bad. Like, you're not going to get to sit here and play video games. Like you're hanging out with us. But like our relationship was like definitely one of the closest. I mean, you went through a cancer scare in high school.
Yeah.
It was me and just your family at the hospital in Wisconsin. Like we were that close that I was literally just me and your family there. Mm-hmm. For my senior night of basketball, wore your jersey because we thought that you had cancer. The doctor said 99% sure it's cancer. And then, I wore your jersey in honor of you. And then it ended up like I was like, I could let my college know I'm wearing your number for college, all this stuff. And then what ended up happening is, great news. They were wrong. Like, you didn't end up having cancer, obviously, which is this really great story. And then I went and played basketball my freshman year of college. You were a year younger. You went and played at Platteville. And then I went to Butler, and you were like, oh, thinking about going to different schools. You were going to go to Madison. I convinced you to come to Butler with me. So you ended up coming to Butler. You were like not in our fraternity, but like the honorary member who got to come to everything. Like you came to every formal somebody brought you to. Yeah. And so like our relationship has always been super, super close. I don't know if I ever thought that we'd work together. But going back to the thing of like hire people that, I care about, like 99% of the people in my life, I would never hire. Like I know that they wouldn't be good to work with, but you're definitely one of the smartest people I've ever met. And like you pick up things really, really quick and you're really analytical, which is funny because I think if everybody looked at you in high school, it's like Dolan's the lazy kid. Like you were the lazy. You got really great grades because you were so smart, but like you just never like in life, but you're not lazy in any way. Like I think I was just talking to Colleen about this yesterday. For me, like I was definitely lazy in school. I got like a 3.9, but I did the bare minimum to get there. But I wasn't the like study every week, get everything done. But now that I found something I love to do, like I work so hard at it. Yeah. And obviously that's what you do as well. And so we've been talking about this for like almost 2 years, maybe. Yeah. And like, I mean, you were at my lake house last summer and we were like, next year, this is going to happen. And I had no idea how fast we would grow and when it would make sense. And now we're finally here, and a few people in our life know it, but I'm excited to share this because like everybody we know is going to be, I think, kind of like, that actually makes a lot of sense what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is funny to go back to kind of what you're saying. Don't hire friends, don't hire family. I think that I'm confident it'll hold true that this is a bit different. Having that level of respect and trust, that goes back that far. I think that's a driver and a motivator more than it is nah, it's Tom, I'm not going to get fired, or you know what I mean, like you have that yeah, I think
It's a
being
good
up.
point.
Yeah, I think it's a bit deeper than that. So like
Yeah.
I
And it's
said,
like I can trust you from day one, right? Like if I brought in a new hire, like there's a lot of hand holding and the like,
yeah,
well, I hope they're a hard worker. Like I interviewed them, like it seems like they know their stuff, but they don't really know what I'm gonna get out of them.
yeah,
And part of the role that I wanted to hire here is like, this is a key role to our business. Like Jason Wang, CEO of Altruist, he's one of my mentors. He's like, this hire that you're making right now is the exact hire I did that like 10x where our firm could go, because we had brought in somebody who wanted to own planning and operationalize it even more. So then if we bring on more planners, so we can work with more people, he can oversee that whole team and I can stay in the lane that I'm really good at, but it's also a role you never want to lose. And so bringing on somebody that like I know that you want to be more in an analytical role than like more my role where you just have tons and tons of client meetings and
mhm,
conversations and whatever is really important, because I want this to be a role that is with All Street for as long as we exist and
yeah,
somebody that stays with that long of a time. And so I know that this is kind of like a dream role for both of us where we're spending more time in what we like.
yeah,
Obviously you're going to be able to get paid a lot more than you were in your other industry, quicker, have more control, like not have to commute, like you don't have to ask for days off or what times you work. Like you get a lot of added freedom
yeah,
that it ends up just being this natural, perfect fit.
yeah, and I don't take any of that lightly. I mean, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to stay. And I'm just excited to dive all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite the story. So it's just another beginning in all of this, and I'm
For
hyper
sure.
excited to see where all this goes.
And
I
this
think
is
it's
your
going to be
first
great.
ever podcast. And, maybe
Yeah,
we'll probably start to do
yeah,
like, maybe it's once a quarter or, a couple times a year, at least once a year of like us doing podcasts,
yeah,
talking about certain things, which will be super fun. But thanks for hopping on, dude. And everybody, thank you for listening. He might not be the biggest creator by any means. He's a great writer. So hopefully we'll turn him into posting a little bit more content. We're going to be able to find him on LinkedIn, and let me know if you guys like these episodes. Obviously this might be, it's good to show to clients or prospects, but even better to show to advisors. Is I spend a lot of time walking through how I'm building the business to help other advisors see that way. But thanks everybody for listening. We'll obviously have another episode this coming Friday. But please rate, subscribe, and we'll see you guys all Friday.